Yes, yes, Sir Hairless here. Today we have Forestella, and it's their original song, Chagall's Dream. This was a monthly members poll winner. You can vote on these polls by simply joining the Patreon linked below, completely free. As I mentioned, it's an original by Forestella, which is always very cool to see. The other originals I've seen so far have been great. You can find all of them in my Forestella playlist linked in the description. Chagall's Dream. Surely this is referencing the painting The Dream by Marc Chagall. Painted in 1939, Europe was in turmoil, World War II. The painting is often interpreted as a celebration of love or hope and an escape from said turmoil. So I must assume the song will be in a similar vein. Here are the lyrics. Hope and love are definitely the dominating themes. Please pause and have a read. Here is a direct reference to Chagall's Dream. And finally, comments have let me know that this music video is a montage of the Forestella Festival 2023, and it was released the same day that their bass, Kowu Rim, left for his mandatory military service, so it's kind of like a temporary farewell. Very dreamlike.
Sun is going down. Birds are getting ready to begin their wars. The stars align to light up in their own heavenly colors.
When you speak a word, dance in waves like the ocean in the spring. The moon lights up as the darkness arrives in time. Lovers.
Very dreamlike indeed. Great choice of instrumentation, very orchestral, like we'd typically see in film music. And the music matches the lyrics. The first lines.
Sun is going down.
Setting the scene here, sun is going down.
Birds are getting ready to begin their waltz.
Birds are getting ready to begin their waltz. A waltz, a dance in 3 time. 1, 2, 3. Brum, bum, bum. Just as this song is in, rather than 4 beats per bar, which would be common time, which most pop songs are in. Begin their waltz. The phrasing has been shifted to emphasize this idea of 3.
Ready to begin their waltz.
And of course, it's very interesting that we cannot see who is singing. Good practice, though, for us to really learn and understand each of their voices a little bit better. Let's carry on just for a little bit more, and then I'll do my usual pause.
In a garden, hope is blooming in the air. I can believe the way I am every time I'm with you.
Yeah, it's a nice song. It's a very nice song. Really is quite dreamlike. That's just the word that keeps coming to mind. I know it's called the Chagall's Dream, referencing or inspired by or based on a painting called The Dream, but the music really is dreamlike. Let's do our first pause here, go over some thoughts and analysis. If you don't want to hear my thoughts, go to the timestamp. We've already spoken a little bit about the lyrics when they first come in, and that was Cho Ming-yu, the tenor. He's a leggero tenor. He has a much naturally lighter voice, so I think that's a very nice voice to use for the introduction. Dreamlike, airy, floaty, all these light kind of adjectives. But before that, we get an instrumental opening. Immediately the flutes, quite subtle, very quick, but just there, that little run up the octave, like birds. I think of birds fluttering and flying away, and immediately I think of flying. Here is the painting again, and look, flight, floating above everything, really is the center point here of the painting. This is just one of many ways, I think, in which the music is capturing the essence of what they're saying. The tinkly piano part constantly moving. Back and forth between two notes. It's not repetitive though. When it could become repetitive, they go back down the arpeggio, then back up. And it's this motif we hear throughout the music. I paused, I think, about 1.5 minutes in. This is 4.5 minutes. So about a third of the way through, but we've already got quite a good idea of the music. I don't know what the rest will be like. It could change significantly. And the contrapuntal nature of this music. Contrapuntal just being the adjective form of counterpoint. And counterpoint we can think of as different parts, each having their own melody. Multiple melodies working together rather than having someone or something with the melody and the other parts just acting as support or backing. The melodies intertwine and we can hear it. Let's take the strings, for example. Listen to the cello at the bottom and then listen to the violins at the top. The cello, boom, ba-da-dum, and then the violins up the octave. So we have a huge range and everything in between. I can't talk about everything I'm hearing because there's a lot to it. It's like an orchestral score. Chromaticism and dissonance. In the violins. Why is that so dissonant? We can hear in the cello. I'll play it up the octave so it's easier to see. And that's the chord we have at this moment. This is a D sharp or an E flat. Here's the major chord, but that violin chromatic inflection falls to here. If I bring this note down, a direct clash with the root of the chord. I like this because the music is very dreamy. Everything seems so positive and happy. Dreams, as we know, at least I get really, really weird dreams. They just don't make any sense. Generally, they're very happy, but there's just weird stuff in there. And this music, ever so slightly, is pointing towards the ethereal or the absurd. Stuff like that, very subtle, harsh dissonances amidst a lovely soundscape, I think, is a very nice touch. Magical, tinkering bells. Let's carry on a little bit. Next to come in is Beidou-hun, the baritone. His timbre, the texture of his voice, his style of singing is very recognizable.
When you speak a word,
I find a trademark of his, especially in the upper registers, is the amount of air he uses towards the end of the phrases when the vibrato really starts to come through.
the trees dance in waves like the ocean in the spring.
Every phrase he sings, we can really hear that. As for his melody,
The moonlight shines.
chromaticism, again, now becoming more and more important. And this is quite high up as well, so the melody arc goes up, coming back down because he is a baritone.
As the darkness arrives.
Oh, but then he's gone back up even higher. Unpredictable, I am finding this music and this melody. Not too unpredictable where it seems crazy. There's a clear structure, especially in terms of the harmony, the chord progression. That's what music theory is. You can use certain chords to prepare for what comes next. And overall, we do follow this structure, but there are nice surprises in there, such as at the end of this section. We could hear that run up, and then complete change.
Verse in a garden, hope is blooming.
And that is Kang Hyung-ho, the countertenor. If we simplify his melody, coming back to the same note at the top, so repetition is quite an important idea, as we spoke about in the piano earlier. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, always returning to the same note, and then underneath, chromatic. So a nice combination of these two very different ideas.
Blooming in the air.
And we still have these arpeggio figures in the piano very high up in the background, all quite mystical. Let's carry on.
Stars in our eyes, couldn't be happier. Walking through starlight, holding you tight. Leaves are in sync as we sing along poems in sea of trees. Love, we can sink or fly above like Chagall stream. There's not a world that can come between us.
Oh, the chromaticism is so good. A lot of really nice stuff in this music. I just think this is what I'd call a nice bit of music. I think the instrumentation chosen is perfect. Not too heavy, not too many sounds. I'm sure there are actually a lot of different layers that we're hearing. But I think the sound, how would I describe it? It's full. It is a full sound, but also not. To be dreamy, I think there has to be an inherent softness to the sound, a lightness, an airiness to the sound, and we're getting that continually through this. I liked the chord progression just before we paused here. So in the middle of everything, well, at the top we have the strings doing this repeated motif, arpeggio, up and down, up and down. The lower strings, if I remember correctly, move up. In the middle though is this descending chromatic line. Also note the hemiola in the violins. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All as expected, and now we're starting to go around the circle of fifths. Ooh. Ooh. But there are two changes. I paused in quite a bad place. Let's just listen again. Ooh. And how do they escape the circle of fifths? Well, again, it's by a chromatic fall in the bass line. So the bass goes do, 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 and then we'd expect it to go do, but we get do, 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 and then up. So in this case, a simple chromatic inflection is used as a tool to escape the expected harmony, which was around the circle of fifths. You don't need to worry too much about what the circle of fifths is. It's basically a circle, and when you follow around the circle, each letter here is a chord, it will sound very natural, very distinctive. Of course, you do have to leave it at some point. You can't just keep going around forever. Right, so from where we carried on.
Stars in our eyes, couldn't be happier walking.
This is the bass Ko Woo Rim, who left for his mandatory military service.
Starlight, holding you tight, leaves are in sync.
His melody is just rife with chromaticism. How many times am I going to say chromatic in this video? Probably too many, because it's everywhere in the music. And again, his melody is unpredictable. He's going down and up and down, then just down.
As we sing along poems in sea of trees.
Repeated chromatic notes.
We can sink or fly above like Chagall stream.
Joined by Bae Do Hoon, the baritone here. Nice two-part harmony, which then progresses into more parts.
There's not a world that can come between us.
And then this is the bit we spoke about before. Yeah, I do like this one, what I'm hearing so far. A lot of nice musical things in there. As far as the requests I receive for Forestella go, based on the number of comments for each song, this is definitely one of the lesser requested Forestella songs, but it still won the poll it was in, so maybe it is a bit more popular than I thought. Alright, let's carry on. If you enjoy these videos or find them helpful, please consider supporting me. Patreon has a bunch of exclusive benefits, behind the scenes videos, additional reaction content, Q&A videos, and more. For a one-time donation, you can donate me a hot chocolate at the Buy Me a Coffee link, or become a YouTube member for these groovy emojis and membership badges. And a huge thank you to these lovely people on the screen now.
Well, love stays like follows. We are lovers in the green. I can't believe the way I am every time I'm with you.
nice suspension.
In our eyes, couldn't be happier. Walking through starlight, holding you tight. Lips are in sync as we sing along poems in sea of dreams. Love, we can sink or fly above like Chagall's dream. There's not a word that can come between us.
I'll say it again, it's nice. A lot of the same ideas we've heard previously coming back there, such as Cho Ming-yu's melody, chromatic in the bottom but returning to the same note.
Well, love stays like follows, we are love.
Slightly developed though, but the same core principle and structure is there. Chromaticism as usual, just everywhere. I'll click to a random point in the video and there'll be something chromatic within the next 2 seconds.
Every time
There
I'm with
already.
you.
Let's skip forward a little bit.
Walking through starlight.
There we go again. Forestella, as we know, are superb singers. They sing so well together as a group, and they can sing in 4 parts harmony. I like now how Kang Kyung-ho, the countertenor, goes up to his countertenor range, which I always say is basically like a male soprano. It's such a smooth and pure and natural tone.
Holding you tight.
We can hear him up there very subtly.
Lips are in sync as we sing along.
Not technically in harmony with the bass. So this is a nice unity. The highest part, the lowest part, singing in unison, octaves apart. And of course we get this phrase. Or passage of music, rather, which is the bit I was speaking about before. Circle of fifths. Chromatic fall to escape it. Sounds like we're getting it again. And there goes Kowu Rim off to his military service. Yeah, not too much more to say from that last section. It was that really nice passage of music repeated. Why did they repeat that passage of music? Because it's nice, maybe? I think so anyway. I hope you do too. And I just brushed over it before, but the rising cello has grown on me. I think it's actually a really important... repeated, but each time the chord around it changes. So it's the same, but slightly different with that chromatic line falling above it. Oh. Pushing against the chromatic fall. Yeah, it's a nice bit of music, very well constructed, very dreamlike, which of course is the purpose. Did I see hope and love in there? Yeah. For sure. And the video as well, very nicely done. There's a certain element of nostalgia to it. Forestella, as we know, love their funky attire, their crazy outfits, which adds to the whole dream perception, I think, just that little bit. Let me know your thoughts, how this compares to all the other Forestella works. Comment down below other ones you'd like to see me do by them in the future. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Would appreciate a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time.